Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be doing another update of Washington Dulles International Airport. This is one of my favorite time periods. I think morning and sort of afternoon are probably my two favorite time periods to do, just because we get some pretty interesting airlines in. As you can see by this overview shot of Concourse B, as you can see we have a couple new airlines into Washington Dulles updates. Those I will get to, but they're pretty exciting additions to Washington Dulles. Not that they're new additions to Washington Dulles, but they're new additions to my model airport or my updates of Washington Dulles. So I'm really excited to get round to them, but I think we're going to start off where we usually do, down here at Concourse B with Alaska. So starting off for the first time in a Washington Dulles update, we have an Alaska MAX. So here we have the Alaska 737 MAX 8. Of course, they primarily use the MAX 9 here at Dulles over the MAX 8, but you know, still we do get the MAX 8 occasionally, and so I'm going to use this one. So here we have this Alaska Boeing 737 MAX 8 in the regular color scheme. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Los Angeles in California. Then next to that we have another Alaska Boeing 737 MAX 8. This one, however, is in the Honoring Those Who Serve color scheme. This one is going to be heading out to Seattle in Washington. It's really good to finally get some Alaska 737 MAX into a DC update. However, again, I do still really want to get to the MAX 9 because I believe overall, I mean, across Reagan, Dulles and Baltimore, the MAX 9 is probably the most common of the MAXs. However, it's still good to have a MAX 8, just any MAX in an update. Next up here, moving on to American, here we have the American Boeing 737-800. This one is going to be heading out to Dallas, Fort Worth in Texas. There was a time where American used to just send 737s into Washington Dulles. However, now it's more Airbuses that they send into Dulles. So for example, the Dallas route is usually on an A321, I believe, these days, but it would be nice to see the 737s back at Dulles. And then here, as usual, we have this American Eagle CRJ-700. No surprises as to where this is heading to. This is going to be heading out to Charlotte in North Carolina. Again, of course, as I say in almost every single Washington Dulles update, American usually use the CRJ-900 on this route. This is a very, very common route to have out of Dulles. It's, as I keep on mentioning, this flight is so frequent that you will pretty much never not see an American Eagle CRJ-900 at Dulles. But as I don't have a -900, this -700 is going to be heading out to Charlotte instead. Moving around to Delta, here we have this Delta Connection Embraer E175. This aircraft is just going to be heading out to Minneapolis in Minnesota today. We then have this Delta Boeing 737-800. This is going to be heading out to Atlanta, Hartsfield Jackson in Georgia. And last but not least, the Delta A220-100. This one is going to be heading out to Boston in Massachusetts. Again, as I usually say with this aircraft, the Delta A220-100 of course does fly into Dulles. However, it's more common to see a -300. So I would like to get a Delta A220-300 in my collection for these updates. And then next up here we have a relatively new airline into Washington Dulles. Now, Breeze started a while ago. I just haven't really included them into Washington Dulles updates yet, but they have some really interesting routes out of Washington Dulles. Of course, Breeze and as well a Velo, they're two relatively new airlines around the US, and they seem to operate very odd destinations, almost destinations that you've never heard of. So Breeze are flying from Washington Dulles to Ogdenburg in New York, Provo in Utah, South Bend in Indiana, and Vero Beach in Florida. To me, those seem like quite random destinations, but I'm leaving it, of course, to the Breeze executives. They seem to know what they're doing, I guess. You know, they've got a lot of these A220s coming. They seem to be, you know, turning into a pretty outstanding airline here in the US. So, you know, let's just let them do their thing, and hopefully they become a very successful airline. But this particular Breeze A220-300, I'm going to send this one out to South Bend in Indiana. Next up here we have the most successful low-cost airline in the United States. That is, of course, the Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8. And as you may know by now, Southwest have reduced their service drastically here at Washington Dulles. From Baltimore and Reagan, Southwest offer a plethora of flights, but here from Dulles they only have two routes, those being Denver and Phoenix, which is really weird. Of course, they used to serve Orlando, Chicago Midway, Atlanta, but they've dropped out of all of those routes, and now they are only flying to Denver and Phoenix. So this 737 MAX 8 is going to be heading out to Denver in Colorado today. And last but not least, here for the domestics, and for the first time in a Washington Dulles update, here we have Allegiant. This is the Allegiant Air Boeing 737 MAX 8-200. And Allegiant have operated for quite a few years into Dulles at this point. However, I just haven't had an Allegiant aircraft to put into a Washington Dulles update. I don't believe they've flown their 737 MAX into Dulles yet. Of course, it's primarily just the A319 and the A320. However, I don't have an A319 or A320, so I'm adding this aircraft in just so we can at least have an Allegiant aircraft in a Dulles update. Allegiant operate 3 routes from Dulles, all down in Florida. They operate down to Jacksonville, Punta Gorda, and Sarasota, all again in Florida. So this Allegiant Boeing 737 MAX 8-200 is going to be heading out to Sarasota in Florida. Next, moving on to the international airlines, here we have this Avianca Airbus A320. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Guatemala City in Guatemala. Next up here we have this Ethiopian Boeing 777-200 LR. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. At the moment, Ethiopian are using the A350-900 on this route. I don't have an Ethiopian A350, so I'm using this aircraft instead. Of course, on the way over to Dulles from Ethiopia, they stop in Rome to refuel, just because Addis Ababa is quite at a high elevation. So they stop in Rome on the way, but then on the way back to Addis Ababa, they just fly direct from Dulles to Addis Ababa. Next up here, we have this Porter -8 Q400. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Toronto Billy Bishop in Canada. And then next to him, we have this giant Emirates Airbus A380. This aircraft is, of course, getting ready for a flight out to Dubai in the UAE. Moving around the other side of the terminal, here we have this Copa Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Panama City in Panama. Then last here at the terminal, we have this Air India Boeing 787-8. This aircraft is going to be heading out to New Delhi in India. Moving over to the cargo stands, here we have this FedEx Boeing 767-300. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Indianapolis in Indiana. Next up, we have this Luftwaffe Airbus A400M. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Keflavik in Iceland today. And last but not least, here for this update of Washington Dulles, we have this Air Canada Express CRJ-900. This aircraft is going to be heading out to Montreal in Canada. And with that does conclude today's update of Washington Dulles International Airport. I hope you enjoyed, and with that, there's not really a ton to say, so I will see you in the next one. Bye.